Big Ten, welcome to the Mark Rogers TV College Football Schedule Rankings, making its first appearance. All right, we're ranking the teams 67 all the way up to number 1, schedule difficulty. We've got a 9-step criteria. Check out the first video to know how we're ranking the teams. We've made it up to number 51, and welcome Big Ten in the form of the Minnesota Golden Gophers. So, here are the highlights of the Minnesota schedule. Of course, they play in the Big Ten Western Division against the likes of Wisconsin, Northwestern, and Nebraska. Iowa, of course, the champion last season with only 2 losses on the season after a 12-0 start. So, not any great teams in the Western Division of the Big Ten, unlike the Eastern Division with Michigan, Michigan State, and Ohio State, but a very balanced top in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, and Nebraska. Teams that could vie for a Big Ten championship, could finish well into the top 25, but are fringe top 25 clubs right now. Wisconsin probably the cream of the crop. Iowa and Nebraska will definitely have something to say about that. But who does Minnesota play in the Big Ten East? Do they play in Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State type schedule? Well, they've got the 4th best team in the Eastern Division in Penn State. And remember, this season the Big Ten has gone to a 9-game conference schedule. So unlike the ACC and the SEC, 14-team leagues who only play 8 conference games, therefore you miss 5 conference games, 5 conference opponents. The Big Ten has added the conference game. Therefore, it's most likely that the Big Ten teams are now playing more difficult schedules than they have in the past. Instead of playing another MAC opponent, for example, they're playing a conference team. So for Minnesota, it's not necessarily a difficult one, though. Penn State in the East, a fringe top 25 club, but also at Maryland and a home date against Rutgers. So most likely the 2 worst teams in the Eastern Division. So this weighs down Minnesota's schedule. They play 2 fairly substantial opponents out of conference, but not nearly as difficult as other teams that they're competing against. Oregon State and Colorado State. So they're playing the worst team in the Pac-12, and they're also playing a Mountain West team that should be very competitive in that division. All right, so it's Minnesota's schedule. They play in a marginal division, probably somewhere in the middle of the division rankings in college football. They get a light touch in the Big Ten East in taking on Penn State, Maryland, and Rutgers, as the video froze there for a second. But Minnesota is the 51st ranked schedule, the worst in the Big Ten. Okay, Minnesota fans, Big Ten fans, college football fans, chime in on our schedule rankings right here on Mark Rogers TV.